Trimming trees near power lines, the power company sometimes just kills them. Dwayne Pullman investigates if they have the right to do that. Next.
An SUV set on fire tonight. Why neighbors say the city isn't doing enough to stop crimes like this.
More employers hire in October than any other month. Tonight, what to do and what not to do to get a better job.
Cooling off. How long that lasts before the 90s return. Coming up on my Weather Authority forecast.
Breaking news alerts, tonight's top stories, and weather before the first commercial. This is Local 12 News at 11.
Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with video you saw first on Local 12. A man torches an SUV and then casually walks away.
Yeah, this is the latest example in a string of early morning crimes, and it has people living in that part of town calling on city leaders to put an end to it. Walter Smith Randolph is here now with how this all unfolded.
Yeah, and Walter, neighbors are saying this is all connected to a late night dice game.
Yeah, that's right, Paula and Adam. Neighbors tell me there's a lot of late night loitering and dice games around Grant Park. And when those dice games go south, there are assaults, arson, and even murder. Now they're asking City Council to put a spotlight on that area of McMicken to break all of this up. Walnut and McMicken, Saturday morning at 6:05. This man in the white tee douses a Honda Pilot with accelerant and lights a fire, casually walking away. John Donaldson says it's par for the course for this section of Over the Rhine.
It's just crazy. I mean, but this is what we have to live with north of Liberty. 3
people were murdered here this summer. Jerome Young was killed on Back Street in June. 3 days later, 14-year-old Anthony Hinton was gunned down just a few feet away. And in August, James Hazel was murdered across the park at Lang and McMicken.
Just right over here at the corner of McMicken and Walnut, 6 weeks ago, we had the woman dice game going on there. Went wrong, and a woman came back with a car and drove up and down the sidewalk.
The woman behind the wheel, Chantal Heath, was arrested and has since bonded out of jail.
Several of the shootings down here take place because of dice games going wrong, people cheating and losing their money and wanting it back. These dice games are a major problem for this area.
Donaldson now wants City Council to craft an ordinance cracking down on loitering.
You know, the dice games, and the loitering, so they go hand in hand because they'll put the dice in their pockets and pretend like they're just standing there. So there needs to be something to be able to break up that loitering and just get people moved along and out of the area.
Cincinnati police say they have increased patrols and undercover surveillance, but Donaldson believes only an act of City Council will ensure this doesn't happen again.
I haven't gotten any response from City Council. They don't seem to be that interested in anything that occurs north of Liberty.
Now, we should mention we blurred out the man's face in that video because this incident is still under investigation. We also reached out to some City Council members. If and when they come up with a plan, we'll let you know. Paula, Adam.
Thank you, Walter. If you know something about those crimes, call Crime Stoppers. The number is 352-3040. Your anonymous tip could get you cash.
New tonight, the Warren County Humane Association just wrapped up one of its largest rescues ever. Volunteers removed 111 dogs from a hoarding situation. Take a look at that. Most of the dogs are poodles and poodle mixes. They're fur, matted. Many have skin infections. A few of them are blind. Now, as you can imagine, the humane facility in Lebanon is in desperate need of help and donations. And if you'd like to help, you can find information to do that at local12.com. An American soldier is under arrest tonight, accused of planning attacks inside the United States. The FBI says Jarrett Smith told a confidant all about his plans, including killing left-leaning activists, blowing up a news station with a car bomb, and targeting Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke. And there's this.
This subject routinely provided advice and direction on how to build bombs. That's frightening.
Smith, who was stationed in Kansas, admitted he posted the bomb-making instructions on Facebook. Now, the reason he never pulled off any of these alleged plans, that person he was talking to was an undercover FBI agent. Now, Smith is looking at decades in prison if he is convicted.
A 34-year-old man is found dead in Witten Woods. Turns out he has been missing since last week. Tony Aday's body was found near Great Oaks Trail. Tonight, investigators are trying to figure out what happened to him. There are no visible injuries. Aday was reported missing last Monday. The man who shot and killed Claremont County Deputy Bill Brewer will die in prison. Anjanette Levy shows us how Wade Wynn's decision today actually spared his life.
Wade Wynn wore street clothes today for the last time in his life. The 24-year-old changed his plea to guilty in the aggravated murder of Deputy Bill Brewer and the attempted murders of 7 others, including Lieutenant Nick DeRose.
Do you understand, Mr. Wynn, that upon entering this plea, if I impose the jointly recommended sentence, you will never be released from prison? Yes, Your Honor.
Wynn is currently taking medications used to treat bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. But that night last February, he had taken several illegal drugs, which prohibited him from being able to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. Wynn called 911 to report someone was trying to get into his apartment. Then he fired shots, leading to an hours-long standoff. Prosecutors said that Wynn feigned suicide, prompting Brewer and DeRose to go into the building to help him.
Once inside the apartment, they were ambushed by the defendant, who had not attempted to commit suicide. The defendant fired upon Deputy William Brewer, Lieutenant Dominic DeRose, Deputy Daniel Spears, Deputy Michael Ross, Detective Nicholas Crouch, and Deputy Douglas Scott.
2 rounds hit and killed Brewer, and DeRose was wounded.
There is nothing that mitigates the defendant's conduct in this case. With no explanation why Mr. Wynn chose to murder 1 police officer and tried to murder 6 others, I have no reason to believe he wouldn't do it again if given the chance.
Wynn's family sat behind him as he changed his plea. Brewer's widow, Jamie, who's left to raise a young son by herself, did not speak.
To spare Bill's family and my office the pain and suffering of sitting through a graphic trial and years of appeals that would certainly come, I feel this was the best choice.
The plea means some healing from this painful ordeal can begin.
Our heart goes out to Jamie. The rest of the officers involved in this case.
In Claremont County, Anjanette Levy, Local 12 News.
And the judge also sentenced Wynn to an additional 115 years in prison.
Meantime, another Claremont County man is spending the next 4 months in jail for shooting at an off-duty police officer. As part of Wesley Seitz' plea deal, the 2 assault charges are being dropped. The off-duty officer and his son were hit with birdshot while hunting at East Fork State Park back in April. Seitz was on probation at the time for receiving stolen property. 48 of America's 50 states let people change their identity on birth certificates. Ohio is one of the 2 that does not, but that could soon change. A federal judge denied the state's request to dismiss a lawsuit. The 4 transgender people suing the state say its birth certificate rule is unconstitutional. The judge is letting the suit move forward. He says not only has most of the country found a way to make this doable, but people in Ohio can change their gender on driver's licenses and ID cards.
A section of Fairview looks a lot different tonight than it did last night. A fire exploded inside and spread to 5 homes on Addison and Halstead Streets. There are families inside 3 of the burning homes, including one woman who needs a wheelchair to get around.
And I was just glad that they was able to get the lady out that lived across the street that was handicapped, and I let them bring her in my house because it was raining. She paralyzed on her whole left side.
The good news in all of this, no one is hurt. 2 homes were vacant and being remodeled by a new owner. Some of the ones that didn't collapse are being torn down. No word yet on a cause.
Lord, we're waiting on you.
Yes, ma'am.
But we're asking you to have your way and to bring about proper closure.
A somber scene tonight in Bond Hill where family members are asking for a higher power to help solve a 20-year-old murder. Lena Ranford was strangled, her body left in an alley in 1999. There is yet to be an arrest.
Speak out, give us the answers that we not only now are looking for, but the answers that we need for what we've seen already.
Now, police did get a new tip just last week about a possible person of interest.
Did you get outside tonight?
I did not, but I was out earlier this morning and it just had a different feel today.
It did, and I think tonight had a feel of beautiful fall, John.
It did, yeah, you could feel the fall in the air tonight. Yeah, we had a cold front come through the area early this afternoon. If you were out this morning, it was humid. We had a little rain in the area with this front. The front is past now and skies have cleared and humidity has dropped, and it's dropped quite dramatically tonight. That's our view from our Covington cam looking back downtown. We're now down to 66 degrees, winds in from the north at 10, and that's blowing in less humid air. That dew point reading only at 50. And that is downright refreshing for this time of the year. Low 60s in places like Wilmington now, as warm as 66 in Union and in Crittenden, Kentucky. And as you head out the door in the morning, it's actually going to be one of the coolest starts that we have seen so far to a September day here in Cincinnati. Low 50s, clear skies, a beautiful fall-like start to the day tomorrow. And we do have some brief relief from the heat on the way here in the tri-state, but it doesn't last. We see heat, and not just heat, more 90s in our future. We'll show you when things start to warm up again, coming up in about 9 minutes. Adam?
All right, John, thank you. Well, a trip to an old public bathhouse will be a much different experience nowadays. Comfort Station in Walnut Hills is a renovated bathhouse on McMillan. This week, it's rolling out its newest addition, an underground cocktail lounge. You get there by going through the men's bathroom.
Okay.
Now, does anybody get to? Do you have to go through the men's bathroom?
We'll just have to find out.
We'll have to find out. All right. Well, it is prime time right now to look for a job. We'll tell you why, and we'll share some tips on the best ways to go about doing that just ahead.
And Dwayne Pullman investigates your rights when the power company doesn't just trim your trees, but kills them. We'll be right back. Severe consequences of climate change can no longer be avoided. That's what will be in the UN's newest report on climate change out later this week. Those consequences: rising sea levels that displace hundreds of millions of people, more destructive storms, devastated fish stocks, and reduced supplies of drinking water. Those are the reasons a group of teenagers from around the world is demanding action. The young people are filing a formal complaint with the UN, saying that the world's worst polluting countries are violating their rights as children. They are citing the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child, the most ratified human rights treaty in the world. Among them is teenage activist Greta Thunberg, who gave this passionate speech to world leaders.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
If the UN sides with the teens, those countries must either leave that treaty or take immediate action to address climate change. President Trump made a surprise appearance at today's climate summit. Here's what he had to say about climate change.
I'm a big believer in clean air and clean water, and all countries should get together and do that, and they should do it for themselves. Very, very important.
President Trump's EPA recently rolled back regulations in the Clean Water Act, allowing chemicals to be dumped in rivers. He also pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement.
16 years ago, overgrown trees triggered the biggest blackout in North American history. Since then, power companies have trimmed trees and sprayed vegetation to keep them far away from those power lines. But as Dwayne Pullman found out, it's caused another problem for a local man who's left to deal with dozens of dead trees.
Tom Wolf, a lieutenant with the Montgomery Fire Department, took us for a ride through a section of the 70 acres he owns near Batesville, Indiana.
Going over this way here
to get a good look.
All right, you can see it right here.
At these power lines that cut through his property.
Lines run all the way through my land here.
And dozens of dead trees below.
Tree here, tree here, tree here. And does it go all the way down?
All the way down.
The trees were killed when a contractor hired by the local power company came in and sprayed herbicides.
You got 40 trees.
Yeah.
So
that are either dead or they're in the dying process.
While Wolf understands the power company has the right to keep the lines clear of vegetation, he doesn't think that includes killing his trees. So he came to me with a question.
Dwayne, is that right?
Power companies are given access through easements, and they do have the right to cut or spray any vegetation within a utility protection zone of several feet around those electric lines in the air.
I understand that.
But Wolf's trees aren't in that zone, and now they're dead or dying.
They obviously made a mistake.
And for that mistake, Wolf wants to be paid. A resolution manager for the contractor offered to settle the case by removing the dead trees and paying Wolf $16,927. But Wolf says he deserves much more.
So you want 60 grand?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the outcome, Wolf is entitled to something. The power company and its contractors are allowed to trim and spray, but they are not allowed to kill all those trees, which means Tom Wolf is right. I'm Dwayne Pullman.
Now, we did call the power company for more information and an update on the situation. A representative told us the company had, quote, no comment. Well, landing a new job is easier when you know when employers are most likely to post openings.
And lucky for us, Allworth's Amy Wagner has that information in tonight's Simply Money report.
Well, job hunting can be a very stressful process, but having the inside track on when to apply could help. And that time is coming up soon for many companies. According to data just released from career site LinkedIn, October is the biggest month of the year in terms of number of jobs posted. Nearly half of hiring managers say they hire in October because it's a busy time of year for their business, and they want to get new hires in and trained before the end of the year. LinkedIn's data also shows Monday is the single day of the week when most new jobs are posted. And if you spot a promising listing, don't wait to apply. Previous research shows being among the first 25 applicants boosts your chances of being hired. Also, in this LinkedIn survey, more than 90% of hiring managers say showing up late to an interview likely means you won't get hired. Other big turnoffs: whining during the interview, not being prepared for questions, and bad-mouthing your current boss. So what are the most common job interview questions? Well, we've got a list and advice for how to answer on the Simply Money page on Local12.com. For Local 12 and Allworth, I'm Amy Wagner.
The ladder truck was pulling up, and ironically, one of my old co-workers took the ladder off the truck, raised it up, and was assisting people down. My man just started throwing babies out the window. Wow. We was catching them, unlike Aguilar.
That is Hakeem Laws, a Philadelphia man who came to the rescue after a house went up in flames this morning. Recounting the chaotic scene, Laws takes a not-so-subtle swipe at Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Nelson Aguilar. This evening, Aguilar responded to the now viral video on Twitter saying, quote, "Thank you for being a hero in the community. Would like to invite you and your family to the next home game. Twitter, help me out and get me in touch with him." Philadelphia has sports fans that are known for being a bit harsh and abrasive.
Yeah.
And I think Aguilar handled it perfectly, killing him with kindness instead of trying to push back. Because he took a swipe. He was saying he can't catch footballs.
Yeah, that's nasty.
You don't say that to a man who catches footballs for a living.
All right, well, we will say to a man who does weather for a living that it was nicely done tonight.
Yeah, John.
Oh, you know what? I've got a little more of that on the way for you, Paula. Next couple of nights. Hey, we ended our dry streak today. Longest dry stretch in 25 years in Cincinnati. Came to an end today. Officially 12/100ths of an inch at the airport. Some saw more, some saw less. Many of you saw no rain whatsoever. We had 20 days straight of dry weather, longest stretch since June of '94 when we had 21 of those days. And we had a high of 85 today. Still 10 degrees above normal for this time of the year. And we're actually going to stay above normal again for the foreseeable future, despite the fact that we're going to get a little closer tomorrow. 18 days above normal so far in September. Just 4 have been below that average mark. But cooler weather coming in tonight. Behind a cold front and behind that frontal system, we will see low temperatures by morning and under clear skies, dipping all the way down into the low 50s around here. Right now, 66 degrees, north winds at 10, bringing in less humid air. The dew point only 50. That is refreshing for this time of the year. Now, it didn't start that way this morning. We had dew points in the upper 60s, but after that front came through, drier air pushed in. So by tomorrow morning, clear and one of the coolest starts to a September day that we have seen so far. Notice we head back into the upper 70s tomorrow. That's a little bit above normal for this time of the year. If you go to the Reds and Brewers tomorrow night, 6:40 first pitch, near 73 and into the mid-60s by the final at. Should be a beautiful night for baseball. But the cool weather doesn't last. Look at this temperature trend for the next 10 days. It is up and it is well above our normal high of 75. Yep, here we go again. The heat building. This big ridge of high pressure is going to take up residence again across the eastern half of the country, including right here in the Cincinnati area. So by the weekend, 15 to 20 degrees above average, putting our highs back into the low 90s. And that is the trend here going through the first week of October. Above average conditions once again across the area. So summer continues, and moving through the entire month of October, we're even weighted toward above average conditions here in the Ohio Valley and really across the entire country. What about any additional rain chances? Because that rain we had this morning was enough just to settle the dust in some areas. We need more. We get a little more as we get into Thursday morning with another front coming through. It's not a lot of rain, but the chance for a few showers will be with us as temperatures briefly take a dip behind that front. The Weather Authority app, the place to check it all out. You can grab that for free in the App Store and on Google Play. 79 tomorrow, 82 Wednesday with lows in the 50s. There's your chance for a shower early Thursday as the front moves through, and we'll cool off a couple of degrees Thursday, but then get ready for heat. Upper 80s Friday, and we're into the low 90s this coming weekend with high humidity to go along with that. We could see a heat index climb into the mid and upper 90s by this weekend and early next week. Stay right there. We'll have a look at sports coming up after the break.
Report, sponsored by Joseph Chevrolet.
As surprising as it is that the Bills are 3-0, it will be even more so if Dawson Knox and Burley Buffalo are still unbeaten after the Patriots visit New Era Field next Sunday. The Bengals thought they would be the first team to bring them down, especially after Joe Mixon's tying touchdown and eventual lead in the fourth quarter. If you thought that would get their new head coach down, though, you don't know Zach Taylor.
There's no increased sense of urgency. I wouldn't say that because there's so much urgency in this building. There's so much still excitement amongst the players and the coaching staff. And I mean, I really can't tell you. I came in to work fired up. We're playing Pittsburgh Monday Night Football. We got a chance to get this thing headed in the right direction. We're 0-3. It's not the way we wanted to start, but we do see positive things happening that we can continue to build on.
Not even a C+ grade from Richard Skinner in his weekly fifth quarter column can dampen Zach Taylor's spirits. Check out all Skinny's analysis on our website. And now, Skinny responding to Chris Renkel playing devil's advocate for the dark side of 0-3.
Skinny, another week. And here we are again talking about a close Bengals loss, 0-3 to start the season. So we're going to play a little point counterpoint. I'm going to give you an overreaction after 3 weeks of the season. You tell me if it's founded or if it's an overreaction. So here we go. 0-3 to start the season. The honeymoon with Zach Taylor is over.
I think it was over at halftime of last week. I really do. I mean, fans are craving something different. It felt like you got that in week 1. Week 2 felt a lot like last year. Week 3 brings you back a little bit of optimism and hope because they were resilient. They did find a way to bounce back.
Is it time to move on from Andy Dalton?
No, and I don't think you'll get to a point of that, Chris, until you get maybe week 12, week 13, and things have gone completely sideways.
Is the season a wash? Is it a rebuild now?
No, I think it was that way all along. I mean, I think the playoffs were and are a pipe dream. This always felt like at best a 6-7 win team, and if things went right, maybe an 8 or 9 win team. Maybe that 9 gets you there, but you got to get that first one because it feels like it's been a long time since this team is won football games in a row, and it has been a long time.
Bengals still searching for their first win. It doesn't get any easier as they hit the road on Pittsburgh on Monday night.
Guys, thanks from the pros to the preps. Next, it's the runs, the hits, and prayers in our Friday flashback, the best of the latest week in the high school ranks. #12 comes out, and Skinny will preview with his top 5 on our 6 o'clock show tomorrow. But you can't figure out who belongs where in the rankings without seeing what they did the previous game as we look back at some of the best in our Friday flashback. And the Reds have their final off day of 2019 today, giving Marty Brennaman one last day to rest for the final series of calls. That starts tomorrow against the Brewers. We'll have special coverage all week long on Local 12 of the farewell, 46 years in the making.
Start tomorrow, coolest start in September. So
wow. Good night.